Hey there, revolutionaries. I have some thrilling news to share with you. After months of planning, Write Your Reality is officially gearing up for its big Kickstarter launch. If you're ready to transform your author career through quantum manifestation, mindset mastery, and aligning with your highest potential, you're not going to want to miss this. The Write Your Reality pre launch page is live now, and I'll be announcing the official Kickstarter launch date very soon. This is your chance to join an exclusive community of authors who are ready to manifest their dream careers. And backers will receive access to exclusive rewards like meditations, masterclasses, and even lifetime access to certain courses and memberships that aren't available anywhere else. So head over to authorrevolution.org/Kickstarter to join the waitlist and be the first to know when this Kickstarter door opens. Let's make 2025 the year you step into the author career you've always dreamed of. Go sign up and let's do this thing together. Welcome to the Author Revolution podcast, where change is not just embraced, it's celebrated. I'm Carissa Andrews, international best-selling author, indie author coach, and your navigator through the ever-evolving landscape of authorship. Are you ready to harness the power of your mind and the latest innovations in technology for your writing journey? If you're passionate about manifesting your dreams and pioneering new writing frontiers, then you're in the perfect place. Here, we merge the mystical woo of writing with the exciting advancements of the modern world. We dive into the realms of mindset, manifestation, and the transformative magic that occurs when you believe in the impossible. We also venture into the world of futuristic technologies and strategies, preparing you for the next chapter in your author career. Every week, we explore new ways to revolutionize your writing and publishing experience. From AI to breakthrough thinking, this podcast is your gateway to a world where creativity meets innovation. Whether you're penning your first novel or expanding your literary empire, whether you're a devotee of the pen or a digital storyteller, this podcast is where your author revolution gains momentum. So join me in this journey to continue growth and transformation. It's time to redefine what it means to be an author in today's dynamic world. This is the Author Revolution podcast, and your author revolution starts now. Hey there, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Author Revolution podcast. I am really thrilled to bring this podcast interview to you today. I had the wonderful experience of being able to interview a good friend of mine. Her name is Lisa Brown. She and I have been what are we called? Technically, accountability partners, I guess. We joined DCA with Amy Porterfield way back in 2019, and we have been in contact with each other ever since. In fact, we do a weekly call. We stay motivated and get each other motivated. We're constantly helping each other try to grow and evolve. And it's just been so much fun to see how Lisa has changed, as well as myself, over the years. Now, one of the coolest things that she's come up with this year, she is very much like I am, right? She's very future-oriented. She loves digging into new technologies, finding ways for herself and her clients to be able to do things in faster and more, I guess, high vibe ways. And one of the coolest things she's done recently is she's always been someone who has done like SEO for her clients. She's built websites for a long time. SEO has kind of been a passion of hers. And now what she's learned over the years by blending some of her love of manifestation and mindset and energetic alignment, she's actually bringing coherence, like I talk about with heart coherence, right? She's bringing coherence into the digital sphere. So she's coined the term digital coherence, and she's talking in this particular episode about how authors can bring digital coherence to their entire author brand. So we're talking your website, your social media, how you're showing up, the words you're using, all the things, so that new tools like the AI crawlers can help you be more visible in a way that makes sense to this new and evolving way that search engines are optimizing. So you're not going to want to miss this particular episode. Lisa has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to SEO. She's been in this business for a long time, and I know that I am constantly going to her with questions, trying to figure out how SEO can work better in my business. So without further ado, let's get into this interview and have you listen to all things digital coherence. Well, hi, Lisa. It's so great to have you on the podcast. I mentioned in the introduction how you and I met, but for my audience who maybe wants to learn a little bit more about you, do you want to tell them who you are and what your expertise is, what you do, all the things?
All the things, yeah. So I've been online since like the 90s and building and optimizing website professionally since like 1996. So that's pre-Google.
That was
Been
like the
around a
first
long
time I got
time.
a computer with a modem and learned what that was. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, we got our first computer with a modem like before that. So I'd been online
Yeah.
for a few years before I picked it up and started, professionally doing that. And I kind of fell in love with it, It was like the internet
Yeah.
and the web was just like amazing because everything was accessible. You could find almost anything out there, right? And it's even more so that way today, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
However, yeah, I mean everything's like interconnected, and you can just kind of follow along, and it's even better now. But I fell in love with it, so that's kind of where I came from, and I've kind of watched it grow up and kind of have grown up my business, at the same time with it.
That's awesome. Well, I know that like you and I have talked so much over the years, about SEO and about how to be more visible online. Like, how did you get into that? Like, what was the impetus there?
Back in those early days, we had like Alta Vista was one of the big search
I
engines. There was
remember that.
Stockpile and a bunch of other ones, but Alta Vista. And in those early days, you could literally optimize something and then go and search for it and watch how you progressed, where you could move yourself up to number one just by, changing a few words or adding, a couple of keywords onto the page.
Yeah.
And that was amazing, because you could like literally see it happen as you were doing it. And I mean, updating a web page was already like that, right?
Yep. Yep.
Look, I made a change, upload it. Oh, look, it's there. And
Right.
and this way you could just go in and do it for search engines. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun. So that's kind of how I ended up. It's like one thing led to another. So,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was
Because
just
over
kind
the
of
years, you've just kind of
natural.
evolved with that. Whenever we've talked in the past, you're such a like a proponent for like futuristic stuff. I mean, you were talking about how to incorporate AI into things before ChatGPT even became a thing. Like, it's been amazing to see how your mind works when it comes to how do we do things better and faster. It's been so neat. And so it made absolute sense to me when you started working on your new book, which is called Digital Coherence, SEO and Content Strategy for Business Growth in the Era of AI. Great title, by the way. I love it.
Thank
Do
you.
you want to talk a little bit about how that came about and, what was the inspiration behind writing that?
Yeah. So digital coherence is kind of my take on how we apply search engine optimization today
Yep.
because everything is kind of changing. Artificial intelligence is changing how we do stuff online. It's showing up in places. It's everywhere. I mean, you can't turn around online and not see it.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and to me, it's changing really fast. But some of the basic things that are the foundation of like SEO are more important today because of that. I think the reason is it goes beyond like SEO because SEO is like classically it's about your website, right? It's always been just about your website. But that's not all we have today. We have social media, we have, Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and on and on and on, all these different places where we show up and do things.
Yep.
Um, for me, it's about okay, so digital coherence is kind of like about applying SEO type practices across like your entire digital ecosystem. So everywhere that you show up,
Right.
it's kind of holistic and pulling it all together and looking at all the parts that make up what you're doing out there. For me, it's something I've kind of always done with my clients. And I realized that it's like, well, I should call this needs a name, this thing that I
Yeah.
do anyway, It's like, it's not just SEO. I can't not look at all the other parts and go, oh, well, this isn't necessarily about optimizing your website, but you should look at this too, or that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so it was just sort of natural to talk about it and pull all of that together. It's because it's all interconnected and it's all interrelated.
Right. Right. And yeah. And if you search up like your name, for instance, you're not going to just see your website. You're going to see all the social media things. Like for authors, you're going to see that you're showing up on Amazon. You'll see that you're showing up on Goodreads, all the things. It's like all of it starts to
Exactly.
compile right underneath it. That makes total sense to me. So how does
Exactly.
you said it's even more important now because of AI. Why is that, do you think?
Well, the way that the way that the search engines work and the way that AI works, they're a collection of algorithms. They're basically they're machines. And you have a little bit of control over how they perceive you by the way you do things online. So
Okay.
making sure that everything's interconnected and linking to where it needs to link. You don't have broken links. You're not sending people off into the ether where they, are like, oh, I thought this was going to be, a website, or I thought this was going to be the book. Where the heck am I? There's a lot of things you can do to keep up with the way you're putting things together online, the way you're putting things out there that makes it easier for these search engines or these AI agents to understand what you're about. And it's sort of like don't leave it up to them because they do their own thing, right? But AI is not perfect and it can make mistakes. I mean, you've seen some of the, freaky stuff that it comes up with and it's
Oh
like, yeah,
yeah, for sure.
we're going to put glue on a pizza, right?
Yum. Can't wait.
Well, that was how you're supposed to like hold the cheese on it, right?
Way back in the beginning, yeah. What was that?
Yeah. Well, so it clearly didn't get the whole pizza thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is it's just a way for you to make it easier for them to understand.
Okay.
And SEO is about a lot about that. So this is just taking it and applying it across all of the places, all the things. And it's
Okay.
something that you can kind of control because you're the one that's publishing this stuff, right? You're the one that's linking these things. You're the one who's putting it on your profile. You're the one who's doing all of those. But so many times people do these things and then they get busy and they go off somewhere else and then they forget that they had this campaign one time and now that their
Yeah.
link goes nowhere and it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was,
So does digital coherence help you then like find those links or be able to like keep track of that sort of thing? Like how does that interplay then with that sort of situation?
yeah, if you're going to achieve it, it's something that you want to have on your radar. You want to be doing like an audit of your links and everything that you're working on to make sure that you don't have any gaps or holes where people are falling out. And it goes beyond that too, because think about how your profiles look. Does do your social media profiles look like you? Do they look like your website? Are they all aligned with the right headshot, the right logo, the right colors, all of those things. Because when you think about it, that is a way to build trust. Okay.
Hmm.
And that is a way to connect with your audience as well. So all of those things together, I mean, that's you online. It's not like, we're sitting here having a conversation. You're not actually there, but this is like your avatar basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
Um,
sense.
so I mean, you just don't want to have anything that's like disconnected
That makes sense.
out
So you go
there.
through each of your sites to audit them before you start I'm assuming with digital coherence, it also means so not just like making sure you're coherent with your branding across, but like the messaging that you're using, the keywords you're using, the way you're showing up online. Is that kind of what you envision as digital coherence?
Yeah, it's everything that you're doing online. It's not just the technical stuff, although that goes a long way to help the search engines and stuff understand you. And
Right.
I'm saying search engines, but that's OpenAI too. They have search GPTs, so they're out there crawling and doing things too, just like Google and Bing are. But yeah, so it's about inspiring that trust and see that kind of thing. They see it from a technical perspective, right? People see the other side of it. They see how things look and how it makes them feel, and kind of marrying those two things together because that's what it's about at the end of the day, right? We want to have people come into our presence online so they know about our books or they know about what we're working on.
Yeah.
And then that's the
Yeah.
way to do it. And that's the way to help them find you because if you're showing up in a way that the search engines can understand that they can bring you those people that are looking for what it is that you do or what it is that you have, the kind of books that you're writing or whatever.
That makes sense. Sure. That makes a lot of sense. So like from the author side of things, what do you think where would be a good place where authors can start to improve that digital coherence aspect for themselves? Like, should they start with their social media first and then work their way back to their website, or should they start at their website since that's their hub and work their way outward?
I would start with the website first and then go from the website to the places that they link out to. So from their website, they're probably linking out to whatever social media that they're using, the places where they show up.
Yeah.
Then look at those. Make sure they're referencing back where they're supposed to. And that, some people have like a link in bio page in addition to their website. Well, make sure that is linking back to the website. Make sure that all of those things are interconnected so you can like connect all the dots between them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I even, when I was kind of going through this process myself for like, I think it was for my Carissa Andrews thing. It was like I had been just, like I've been showing up on social media for a while now in a different way. And it
Mm-hmm.
occurred to me like I was taking, I think it was my TikTok. It was just one of my social sites where like I kept saying link in bio, and it was just going to my website instead of my link tree, where the link in bio in my brain was like my link tree. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go back.
Yeah.
I have to go fix that like right now. But it's that sort of thing, right? Where it's like you're saying link in bio and then it's going to the website and they're like, where in the hell am I supposed to be finding this thing? Like what? Yeah,
Yeah, because those pages are really meant to give people like a menu to choose from. And our websites aren't always that when you go like maybe to the homepage, they're not as concise. And,
well, they
because
definitely didn't have like my 3 chapter sample that I was trying to send it to. That's for sure.
see,
Whoops.
exactly.
Whoops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's the thing that gets missed. And because we're juggling all of these different pieces and so many different things, at one time. And then, you add into it, oh, well, I just had a launch of a new book or I had this thing going on or this event or whatever, and then you don't go back and look at it for a while because you've gotten busy. And I think that's the importance of something put it down on your calendar to go and check this stuff periodically because
Right.
you don't want to, you already do all this work to create this content and to put it out there. Make sure it's working for you,
Yeah. Do you have a recommended
you
schedule that
know?
you would typically go through and audit your sites to see how it works?
Yeah, it's not something I think you have to do like every month, but I think if you do it every quarter at least, and if you're busier, maybe more frequently. I
Okay.
think everybody's going to have to find their cadence for that, but I would say quarterly at least, just because depending on if okay for authors, if you're releasing stuff and you're doing maybe rapid release or something like that, you may want to look more frequently
Right.
because what you're doing and what you're promoting and all of that's going to change. So those links may be changing, and you want to make sure that what you're promoting is leading somewhere.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the readers are
yeah.
going to be a little bit like, what is this lady or this guy talking about? Like, this does not make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I gave in the book, I gave an example of this. So I had a product that I was using in the kitchen, to make, a recipe or whatever. And they were like, oh, for more recipes, here's a little QR code. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let me go check it out. So, I hit it on my phone and it went to a page that was just like a 404, nothing, just a page that said, this isn't found. It's
And you're
like,
like,
okay.
it's in this book.
It was printed on the back of this packet of stuff, for a
Okay.
recipe.
Oh yeah. What the heck?
Every single one of the products that was on that shelf led nowhere. It's like, yeah, recipes not for you.
No, that's weird. When I was reading, and that's not just something like that. When I was reading I think it's Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, he had a
Mm,
couple of links in the book where it was like, go here to get this free something or other. I think it was a meditation. And you go there and it's like, it doesn't exist. And then you go to his site to dig
yeah,
around and it doesn't exist. And it's like,
it doesn't. No, but he redid his site here recently and
ah,
completely like redid like the whole shopping cart and everything. So yeah,
oh, yeah,
I know what you mean. But see, that's the kind of thing. And then that's the kind of thing that doing an audit would show you because you can find those broken links and then you can do something with them. to make sure that
So
they end up where you want them to.
how do you do that? Like just like specifically, like do you go into like each page and just click all the links out? Or like if they wanted to do an audit the right way, like how does that look? What does that look like?
The way I do it, I use a tool called Screaming Frog, and it's a crawler that can go and crawl your website. It'll crawl all of the links on the website. It'll follow them, and
Hmm.
give you a list. So you get these reports of these links are broken. These are external links. Were they okay? It'll give you the status of them. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, with like status codes and stuff like that that tell you, was this
Oh,
link
nice.
okay? Was this link, broken? Did it end up somewhere? All of those kind of things. So you can get a list of the ones that are messed up and then decide what to do with them. It's like either you need to put something back so
Oh,
that it
that's so
shows
much
up
easier.
there, or yeah, right. Or you can redirect it, redirect it. That's a little technical, but you can redirect it to someplace else. So you can
Yep.
go, well, this isn't here anymore, so it's over here now. And all of that takes place where people don't see it. They just end up in the right place. So
Right.
they don't see all that. It happens behind the scenes.
That makes life a
But
little
you
easier because I was literally envisioning like you having to go onto your page and like click off and do all the things. That makes more sense now, Lisa.
Oh yeah. No, my God, we'd be here forever if we did that that way.
Right? I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I think back just to like my podcast pages for Author Revolution here. And I'm like, there's a lot of links on every single one of those pages. Oh my God, that'd be a lot.
Yeah, but with a
Okay.
tool like this, you can get all of that. I mean, you can get it into a spreadsheet format, and then you can look at it all and decide what to do with
Nice.
it. And
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot of fun to
Just
see those
goes to show
reports.
you my
What they
brain is not fully coherent when that when it comes to audits. Whoops.
I
This is
think
why
they're
we
a lot
need
of
you.
fun.
Yeah.
To me, yeah, yeah. To me, they're like doing an audit, like on something, on a website or on, somebody's entire ecosystem or whatever. It's kind of like digging for treasure because you don't know what you're going to uncover, and it's kind of amazing, the things that you can find that can be, addressed or fixed or improved upon,
Oh, sure.
um,
Yeah.
from that.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
there's a lot of things you can do with it, and it's kind of surprising. Kind of surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You never know. No two are alike.
That does not surprise me at all. So does that crawler do the social sites as well? Does it do the, like the whole spectrum if you point it toward it?
Um, they don't like you to crawl their stuff. So so you may be able to get a little bit of, stuff, but no, not so much. Because I mean, think about Facebook. You have to be logged in. So if it's
Hmm.
something like that, it's a little more difficult to get that information from. So for those, you're probably going to be, laying some eyeballs on it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
So that is
yeah,
going to be more like hands down, whatever. Hands
it's
on
a little
deck.
more
All hands on deck.
hands-on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I mean,
one.
you're probably going to have to go and, like, look at it yourself. But in those cases, you're looking at the link in your bio and your profile. It's not necessarily,
Every post
and
that you've ever posted.
you wouldn't go back and look at all the stuff you posted on, Facebook like a million years
Right.
ago. I mean, okay, I mean, those things get buried. Social media is like ephemeral. It's there for a minute and then
Right.
it's on to something else. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and if someone's
So
digging back to, 2008's post, then they got nothing more important to do with their time. They can go find whatever that link was supposed to be.
yeah, well, I mean, you can look at your Google Analytics and look for things that are 404 there, and see what shows up on that report as being something that was a broken thing, and they would show up there. So I mean, there's other ways
Okay.
to get at that. Google
Sure.
Search Console has some of that information too, so you can get a really good picture of what's happening there. Search Console is really great because you can see how Google sees your site, and it'll give you like a report that's sort of broken down by the different issues. And
Mm.
so you can kind of dig into those things as well. Yeah, we use a lot of different tools to form a picture of this stuff.
Sure. That makes total sense. Do you have anything that like tops your list where it's like common mistakes that authors typically make with their online presence?
Oh, Yeah, disjointed navigation. And this isn't, don't take this wrong, please. Um, but I think a lot of people build websites that have never built a website, and there's just they'll have like orphan pages that aren't linked to anywhere. They're not in their
Mm,
navigation, that kind of thing. And it's
yep.
like, well, you've got the page there, but if you don't have a link to it, how are people going to find it? The search engines can't find it either because, hey, they follow links, right?
Right. That makes
So
sense.
that kind of thing, or just like broken links, things that don't all hook up, where you don't link back to like your main property, which would be your website, obviously. I mean,
Yep.
that's your hub. That's your hub for everything. And all of the rest, connects off of that. It's like constellations, you have all of those things together connected, kind of make the picture.
Right.
So make sure those connections work.
Right.
And that's
Well, I'm
kind of the
just
big
even thinking
thing,
about that three chapter sample that I just mentioned, where it's like, should we as authors then be, because to me that's kind of like its own little orphan page out in the middle of like book funnel landia. You know what I mean?
right?
Like, do we then tie that into like our books page, have some way to be able to bring it over? Like, what's the best practice there to be able to connect some of those pieces that we would like want our readers to find if they could find it more organically?
Yeah, because that's something you could link to from your website.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and ideally you would have a profile related to that over there that would link back to your website as well. So then you have,
Hmm.
it's self-referential. They're both linking to each other.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. And I'm pretty sure that that does happen on BookFunnel's side. It just depends on if it's literally just that books page. I don't know how
Mhm.
that works. I'd have to go back and look at how the BookFunnel landing pages are, but I know that there are ways to be able to create like an author type page and then it links back over to your site too. So it's like, huh, you got me thinking like, oh yeah, I didn't think about how to bring those two together or anything like that. That's interesting.
Well, there's some interesting code that you can add to your website. Now, how you do that would depend on how you built your website. I mean, like WordPress has plugins for this, and so how you do it is going to depend on what you have. But
Okay.
there's a schema markup. It's code that goes behind the scenes of your page, and there's one that's called same as. And basically, what that does is that you can list your website and you can list all of your social profiles. You can list
Mm.
your book funnel. You can list your author page over on Amazon. You can list it on Goodreads. All of those things saying this is all the same as this person is the same as this,
Ah,
this, 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 this,
smart.
this, this. Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
sense.
So, and anywhere you write, say you write online, say you get published, on one of the news websites or something like that.
Medium or something like that.
So you could have that in there as well. So
Mhm.
all of those things tell it that, these are the same as. So this is the same person. This
Does
is the
Shopify have
same.
something like that too? Because like I have a Shopify store. That's my main store for like my Carissa Andrews site, but then like even the rom-com,
Yeah.
even though I have a WordPress site for that, it still ends up over at my other one.
Shopify has Yoast, right? I
I'm not
believe.
sure actually.
I think they do. Yeah, but an SEO plugin would be where you would look for that. You can
Okay,
also do it like from scratch, and there's
sure.
tools and stuff to do that because you could just do it and then copy and paste it into the HTML of your page. But that's
Wow.
not the easiest way, obviously.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, nobody wants to mess around with code. So
Yeah, now we can help it. That
no,
would not be my first go-to. I feel like no,
no,
please. Oh
no, but it
gosh.
works. It works. But so, I mean, you can do that, and that's another way to help them figure out those connections. And that's
Right.
something that just is behind the scenes, and the crawlers all eat that up. They like that. I mean, it makes sense to them, right? Everything's labeled. It's like, oh, all of this is labeled, and it
Yeah.
it all makes sense. And here it is in a nice little package tied up in a bow.
Yeah. Well, and it does make sense. It makes things easy, not only for people who are navigating to your stuff, but it would make sense that the crawlers and the search engines and their AIs would like that process because it would just be, like you said, coherent. Makes
Well,
it, it would all make sense. Yeah.
it's another way you can kind of have a little bit of control over what you're signaling to them. It's
Right.
just another way for you to show them. And why wouldn't you want to show them what you want them to see and not leave it up to them? Because I mean, AI, like I said, it's not perfect. And Google is also, I don't know if you've noticed, they're showing AI overviews in search a lot now. So if you go
Ooh.
on to Google and search for just about anything, there'll be an AI overview that's generated
Mm. I
for
have seen
you
that. Yeah.
in that moment. Yeah. And they're
Yeah.
doing that more and more. So,
That's interesting. Yeah, I think Bing's been doing that as well, where they've been doing
hmm,
that where it's just like it pops
yep.
up and populates on the side. That's really interesting. Do you use when you're creating your coherence with your messaging and everything that you're putting together, obviously not necessarily with branding, but like with the word part of it, do you use like ChatGPT to say, "Hey, I'm trying to build coherence with how I'm speaking. Help me to do that?" Like how would authors or could authors use ChatGPT, for instance, to be able to be more coherent online?
I think so. Yeah. I use it to help me outline things all the time, or to help me like rewrite things so that it makes more sense or that it's closer to the way that I talk or, the way that I write.
Yep.
So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because to me, it seems like it would be really helpful to be able to have that kind of like you could be even able to ask questions like, what would you need from me to build some sort of a coherent strategy across our social media or across our like online presence or whatever. And maybe
Oh
it would even
yeah.
give some tools as well to help us in addition, obviously, to your book.
Well, yeah. So like if you've say you've done a crawl, the screaming frog, and you've got the results of that, and it comes back and it gives you some spreadsheets and stuff, and you can feed those in
Hmm.
and ask for them to be analyzed and to get, input on what you should do with those things. Like, okay, say you have a bunch of error pages. Well, what should I do with these? Give me recommendations on how to address these. And, if you've given it enough information and it has, your data for your website, and then it has the data that's like for the broken things, it can actually tell you, hey, yeah, this page is broken now. You maybe want to redirect it over here instead.
Okay.
And you can
Yeah.
do that yourself, but it's kind of neat to be able to put that in and get a list back and then just, go take care of it.
Yeah, right. Right. That's
Yeah.
really neat.
Yeah.
I love the way that AI has changed how we can operate our businesses. Like we've been obviously doing this for a long time. And so
Mhm.
to bring AI in from like our side of the spectrum of it as well has been so revolutionary because it does make things more coherent because number one, you can do it faster. So it's almost like you're batching it. And so your brain is in it, you're focused on what's happening and you can like be more consistent that way. But then just
Completely.
yeah, it's just like having someone to bounce those ideas off of. And then it's like this expert too that can give you information and help you to, craft whatever it is you need to craft. It's been super interesting to me.
Yeah, I used Notebook LM last week. They came out with it's basically it'll create like an audio podcast sort of
Oh,
um,
cool.
thing. So I was like, well, I'm curious. So I gave it the manuscript of the book, and I'm like, okay, you don't get any say in this. It's just a button, and then it creates it for you. But what it comes back with is a podcast with back and forth between two people discussing the content based on, whatever document you uploaded. So,
Yeah. Oh,
and
interesting.
it was really very cool. It was like crazy. It's like these sound like actual people,
Yeah.
and they were talking about the different concepts that were in the book and going back and forth about, different things and talking about all of, the topics. It's like, huh. Now, obviously, if you were going to use this somewhere, I mean, right now it's kind of a novelty, right? And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you could throw it like an article or a blog post or whatever, and it would do the same thing. But you don't have any control over it. You can't tweak it. You can't tell it, hey, I want this to be just one person talking. It's just a little black box, and it spits out what you get. So,
Yeah.
because if
Interesting.
you were going to use this for yourself, I mean, obviously you could do something like that with what, like 11 labs probably, but
Yeah.
this is doing all the summary and creating a conversation like on the fly.
That's super interesting.
I think it'd be cool if, you had a little bit more control over it, maybe could, specify things a little bit. It's not giving you anything else. It's just going off of the one document. So it's not like I could say, hey, do this for chapter, 3 or something.
Okay.
That would be kind of fun if you could break it down like that. So, but
Well, wouldn't you be able to just upload chapter 3 and that's it? And then have it
yeah,
do it?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But it won't listen to you you can't tell it to go and do that. It's going to take in
Gotcha.
whatever the whole
Yeah.
is. So, but
So it
yeah,
almost has
it was
to
really,
have iterations. That's neat.
yeah, but it was really cool. And it does a bunch of other things too, like summarizing and if you wanted to create a study guide or, stuff like that. But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun playing with these tools to see what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I would think too that like once you start to create a brand strategy, like I'm just thinking as an author, like once you know what your strategy is, once you know what you're looking for too, having AI on your side and it knows what your brand strategy is, your digital coherence looks like. Now it can help you in the future creating anything new so that it's more coherent going forward as well, right? So you can train your custom GPTs to
Yeah.
understand what your coherence looks like.
Yeah, I think so. And it's great for planning out things like that because you can give it the gist of what you're trying to do and it can take all of the bigger picture things that you've given it and tie them all together.
Yeah. I really wish that AI existed before I started working on courses. Like when I first started Author Revolution, I didn't know what the heck I was trying to say. I just knew that there was stuff I wanted to teach. And like over the years, I've created all these parts and pieces. And it's only now that it's starting to make sense in my brain as to how I'm going to relay it coherently. And it's like, I wish I would have had that tool to be able to be like, what am I trying to create here? Like, what is this? Like to be able to bounce the ideas off of. But it's funny that like it's taken such a long time for I think it's to come full circles, for us to understand how we're trying to show up and what we're trying to do. Whereas people who are coming into it now and who are just starting as authors or who are just
Mhm.
entering the entrepreneurial world, whatever, it's like they have such a leg up in my mind on how they can be more coherent right off the bat, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty amazing. You think about that because these tools weren't here just a few years ago. Not
Yeah.
and they're growing by leaps and bounds and they're getting better and better and better.
Oh yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I think back to when I even first started and like chat would, hallucinate often. And it's very rare now that I see a
Mhm.
hallucination happen through my outputs that I'm trying to get it to do, or if I'm having it work on, like there's no more glue on pizza. Like there's not that sort
No.
of thing. It's you know what I mean? It's so much better than it was. And I'm just like, wow, that I mean the amount of information it can handle now is like the context windows are so great. And so it makes sense in my brain, like the way that they're incorporating it into the search engines and how that's all integrating. It makes sense that having the digital coherence, like you've talked about, it's going to be so important because not only are you creating it on your end with perhaps a large language model, or doing it in your own way, whatever, but it's like the search engines are going to be looking more for that, and it's going to, like you said, they're going to be wanting to see the sites that are the most relevant and coherent and are going to help the searcher, I guess, looking for whatever it is that they're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I
Mm,
mean, Google's got a whole update that's been about, helpful content and having everything together is a way to demonstrate that, right?
right. So as
Yeah.
an author, this one just popped in my head. Let's say I want to attract paranormal fantasy readers. Like what would be the most important part of digital coherence in that regard? Like should authors be creating blogs so that there is more content for the site to be able to adhere that to their stuff? Like what is the best play there?
I mean, for SEO, for things to be found online, it has to be somewhere. So having that content somewhere on your site, I think is important. Is it a blog? It might be. It can be on your book pages. It could be excerpts of, the things that you've written. It could be you talking about your characters, any of those things. But it doesn't necessarily have to be just on your website anymore. Now,
Hmm.
we're looking at, the broader picture with everything else. all of
Yep.
the other places where you exist. But the thing is the content has to be there somewhere. And so, the blog thing, yes. I mean, if you want it to be found on your website, it's going to have to be on your website somewhere. So,
Okay.
yeah. But
Does it
the
still
social
prioritize
media,
like the new stuff? Do you think? Like the search engines are going to prioritize more recent type posts, or does that not matter?
no, I think it does matter. Some things are more evergreen than others, meaning, they're not as time-based. News things are going to be more sensitive to that. I'm thinking that from the standpoint of paranormal romance type books, that time thing is maybe not the same thing because you have people finding an author, you don't know when they're going to, find you. They could find you now or they could find you in a few years, but the books are still going to be relevant.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've always wondered about that. When I first started writing, it was way back before I even published. I was blogging first, and that was such a fun place to be. But it was more when I think back to it, it was more for my fellow writers and I. So it was like
Mhm.
we were doing a lot of communication. A lot of other writers were coming over to my blog. I was going over to their blog. We were doing, the fun meme type ones too, where the interviews are the ones where you're answering questions and then tag 15 other people and they have to do the same thing, whatever. It was a lot of fun, but I don't know that was really reader focused. It didn't bring a lot of readers necessarily over to my site. And so it's
Yeah.
like, how do authors craft their content so that it's pulling readers in instead of I don't know because like literally we start thinking like once we get into that world of authorship it's almost like we can't see the world again as a reader for a while. It's like we're so engrossed in just the writing part of it that it's like readership has like vanished. Like you don't a reader, what's that? Like how do what do readers care about anymore? I don't know until you finally circle
I,
back around.
I think, okay, if you think about somebody discovering you, they may not discover you that way from like a blog necessarily, but so you have to think about where they're at
Mm,
and how they would discover you over there. So that makes things like Goodreads or, your author page over, on Amazon, all of those things
mm,
a little bit more important because I mean, that's kind of how, I don't know, I can't tell you how many authors I've come across by looking at somebody that I already read and then there's something that's related and it's like oh check that out. uh,
yeah.
so yeah, a blog by itself,
You have to
maybe.
almost reverse engineer like how I mean, I know they say not to market your books just the way that you would want to see things because like
Yeah.
you're not the way that you purchase things is not the only way others purchase things. But like I think about, TikToks or whatever, like people are
Hmm.
often finding recommendations there. So would it be smart to almost craft content that is I guess SEO friendly for the different sites, thinking back to like how a reader would then want to find that post and then have it
Yeah.
link out to your stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I think you have to know where your readers are going to be. And that just goes back to marketing in general. I mean, you have to be
sure.
where your people are. You're going to
Yeah.
have to show up where they're at. And right now, what, TikTok, I guess, is one, and you have to
Yep.
think about Instagram and you have to, and for like a nonfiction book, I'm thinking about LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
Yep.
you have to be putting content in those places. And that's why you want to have all of those links that come right back to you. So everything's
That makes
tied
sense.
together. And yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that when it does take off, it's all connected, and so it's not broken to the extent where they're like, oh my God, everyone wants this book, and no one knows how to freaking get it. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's about reducing that friction between those things so that
yeah.
it all kind of flows together.
That makes sense. I like that. So if someone wanted to start building their coherence through their stuff right now, like if an author wants to get it going, what would you recommend is like the good first step? Is it the audit? Is it just like getting their mindset wrapped around it? Like what should they start with?
Yeah, an audit, I think maybe sit down and make a list of the places where you show up regularly and then go and look at them.
Okay.
Just lay eyes on them and look at them. Look at the links, make sure everything works, make sure it goes where you expect it to. It doesn't have to be a big technical thing. I mean, it can be as simple, just sit down with a list and then work your way through them. I know, it can be a lot more complicated depending on, how long you've been at it and, what all you have, but that's the simplest way to do it. To
Yeah.
just take a look at it and make sure everything's working the way it's intended to.
And then if it's not, fix it.
Well, yeah, yeah,
Ideally.
that's
Or at least make a note
yeah,
so that you know you have to fix it at some point. Yeah,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
just applying those things, and it's the kind of thing that gets left by the wayside a lot of times, just because we get busy and, or
Yeah.
like you said, you get into writer mode and you're like, that's what you're focused on. So you're not like thinking about, because we wear all these different hats, right?
I know, right? I was just thinking about like I still have to reach out to Book Vault to try to figure out like how to get my the shipping costs right because like literally since they had that UK only store and then they ended up shifting and having the US distribution center as well. It's like my shipping is like wonky on my store and it's like it's been on my list to go contact them forever to fix that part to reduce
Right?
friction for my readers and it's like I still haven't done that. Oh my gosh. Like what? And so it's like there literally are so many things, so many hats we're wearing, and sometimes we know there are things that we have to fix, but they get left by the wayside because we just don't put them as a priority.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like, think about your social media profiles. Have you updated it, recently? Because sometimes you see them and you're like, wow, that's really out of date. But it's real simple. Just go look at it. Look at it. Is it
Yeah.
aligned with what you're doing right now? You know?
Debut novelist, and you've actually got 40 books under your belt at this point. Like, oops, I probably should update that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, no, no, you debuted a long time ago.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's happened too. It's like, oh, dang. Like, whoops. That's funny. Oh gosh. Okay, so Lisa, where can my
Yeah.
audience go to find out more about you, to get your book, and then like learn about all the things that you do?
My writer's website is lisabrown.com, and all
Okay.
of my books are over there. And my business website is beunlimited.com. It's just the letter B, the word unlimited.
I love that. That's so good. Well, Lisa, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming in here, talking to us about digital coherence. It's been like something you and I have discussed obviously for a while now, but it's been so fascinating to wrap my head around. And I love the concept. And I think it's just going to help people revolutionize the way that they show up online. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Of course, of course. Guys, I told you Lisa knows her stuff, and she's been in the process of evolving this digital coherence concept for the past year. Like it all kind of came together about the same time I was doing a lot of shifts myself for Author Revolution, and it's been super cool to see how she's been merging this aspect of things into her business while I've been merging the energetic coherence side of things into mine. And it's just been so much fun to like wrap my head around how these two businesses have kind of evolved and how they support one another in cool and unique ways. So, if you're interested in learning more about Lisa, learning about all that she does, or want to get access to any of the resources that she talked about in this particular podcast episode, head over to authorrevolution.org/260. I'll make sure everything is listed right there for you. And just know that, like, this is an evolving landscape, and Lisa is one of the people who are on the cutting edge of it. She is the person who's coined digital coherence, and I cannot wait to see how this evolves. Now, as an author herself, this is something that she is tying to everything that she is doing. Like, she's a sci fi author who also writes nonfiction. And so she's doing this for her own books, she's doing this for her own author career, as well as I'm implementing it for mine. So it's revolutionizing the way that we're showing up online, the way that we are doing what we're doing when it comes to our websites and our social media. I mean, it's just some powerful stuff. So I encourage you to check her out, get her book, make sure that you go through the resources in there. It's going to help you out a lot. Okay, now with that said, I have to mention that as this podcast episode airs, it is in the middle of my pre-launch for Write Your Realities Kickstarter. I finally pulled the trigger. Yes, that's right. I finally pulled the trigger. It's on its way to gaining enough supporters. Once I reach the 25 to 50 supporters that Anthea Sharp recommends, yes, I do read other people's books. because I need to know how to do this properly. Once I reach that milestone, I'm going to be kicking it live. And so it's going to be going live here sometime in November, ideally, probably after Author Nation, because there's a lot that's going on. I'm preparing for a lot of things. And when I'm at Author Nation, it's probably going to be go time when it comes to getting more people involved into the Kickstarter waitlist. So more than likely, if I had to guess, it's going to go live on the 18th of November. But don't quote me on it because I might just go, guess what? We're in the middle of Author Nation and I'm going to make a big announcement and do it. So you just don't know. I could just surprise you that way. So if you are interested in getting on the waitlist or being the first to know when the doors open for this particular Kickstarter, head over to authorrevolution.org/Kickstarter. It will direct you to the wait page. And then once the Kickstarter goes live, it will also direct you right to the Kickstarter. So check that out. Make sure that you are perusing. I have some incredible backer rewards, add-ons, stretch goals, all the things. And it has been so much fun to build. I kid you not. Now, it's been kind of funny because this past week I've been sick. Well, I've actually been sick longer than that. I got a little bit of a cold from my daughter, bringing my daughter to the urgent care. She had some sort of cold too. And I ended up getting bronchitis. So here I am. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. But luckily, the bronchitis didn't really affect my brain. It affected my ability to speak. It affected my ability to have like coherent conversations on Zoom meetings. However, my brain was fine. So I was able to get the Kickstarter all up and running. And I love it so much. It's going to be so much fun to do. Now, it also includes a 2025 revised and updated edition of Right Frame of Mind. So if you've had access to that book before, I'm in the process right now of revising it for 2025. I'm putting out a new cover. So I'll be unpublishing the old version, getting the new version ready to go. It will only be available through the Kickstarter for a limited period of time. And then obviously once the Kickstarter is done, it'll start going out everywhere. But just know that like there's some cool stuff that's happening. The branding for Author Revolution is changing. So the new book covers are reflective of that. Head over to authorrevolution.org just to see what that looks like too, because the website's been revised. I am going all in, guys, with how I want to show up for you. So if you're a neurodivergent author, if you are an author who has been struggling with manifestation and it hasn't been working for you, if you are an author who wants to try manifestation, but you're not sure if it's going to work for you, or if you're just at your breaking point and you're so done with all the hustle and grind of the indie sphere, this is going to be your hub. This is the place I want you to come to because I am here to support you. I have been where you are. I am done being in that hustle grind culture for good. And I am teaching authors how to create their author career from a place of true alignment, sustainability, and energetic alignment first. So check out authorrevolution.org to see what I mean. Otherwise, check out the Kickstarter. I can't wait to see what you think of this thing. It's going to be so much fun to deliver all these goodies, and I can't wait to see what you guys think. All right. In the meantime, I'm off to Author Nation. The podcast episodes will be coming out per usual, but if you want to see live updates as to what's happening at Author Nation, make sure to check out my Instagram or TikTok. I'll be posting stories throughout the time periods so that you can kind of see what we're up to. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of this month. I'm going to be around, but I will be accessing things a little bit more remotely than normal. All right, do what you do. Go forth and start your author revolution. Hey there, revolutionary. Before we dive into today's episode, I have something super exciting to share with you. If you've been struggling to find your breakthrough moment and you're ready to take your author career to the next level, I want to invite you to check out the High Vibe Author Membership. It's my new membership packed with transformative courses, powerful meditations and hypnoses, and a supportive community that's here to help you manifest the abundant author life you've always dreamed of. Head over to authorrevolution.org/high vibe to learn more and start your journey to success today.